When Tim rescued this dog, he didn't know she would end up bringing this amazing thing. People have viewed it over 7 million times on TikTok. Tim and his wife Sara lived a moderate life, and it was the little things that made them happy. For instance, sunshine after a downpour, the smell of freshly baked bread, or waking up beside each other every morning. Although they weren't wealthy, they were comfortable. Sara worked from home as a freelancer, while Tim worked in a factory. He had been with the company for over 5 years, and everything was going on smoothly until someone else assumed the position of managing director. This new boss's name was Derek, and it seemed he had vowed to make some of the employees' lives a living hell. Unfortunately, Tim made this list. Derek increased Tim's workload and never seemed to be satisfied with anything he did. Sometimes he even asked Tim to work on weekends and made him stay very late at work. So by the time Tim got home, he was clearly very exhausted. It got so bad that he barely had time to have light chats with his wife after work. Soon, all these took a toll on Tim's mental health as well. I have seen how he treats other people. He is very nice to them, but talks to me in a very rude manner, Tim told his wife one night after returning from work very late. Don't forget to always do the things that make you happy, she advised. Sara's birthday was fast approaching, and it fell on a Friday. This couple usually celebrated birthdays by going on dinner dates. It had been this way ever since they got married, but with this new boss, Tim was so scared their plans might fall through. 2 weeks before the birthday, Sara even asked her husband to promise her he wouldn't miss the date for anything in the world. Nothing would stop us from going out that evening, Tim promised. A week before the birthday, Tim went to the HR office and asked for permission to close early on Friday. Tim had never made such requests, so the HR happily granted this one. Work ends at 4 p.m. You can leave by 3 p.m., she said to an excited Tim. That Friday, Tim got to work earlier than usual and did all the paperwork. By 3:30 p.m., he sent the last batch of emails. He then packed his bag and was ready to leave, but a knock suddenly came on the door. It was Derek. Immediately, Tim saw him. He knew there was trouble. Without a care in the world, Derek told Tim the secretary wasn't around, hence he needed to stand in for him during a meeting by 5:30 that evening. Tim was dumbstruck. He wanted to explain he had been granted permission to leave early, but he couldn't even get the words out of his mouth. However, what Derek said next made him throw all caution away. You need to be at that meeting. If not, you could kiss your promotion goodbye. You have to put work over everything. Not over my family, Tim blurted out. It was the first time in years anything ever made him that angry. At this point, he was done with the extreme demands. He was also fed up with his unappreciative boss, so he said, "You know what? I quit." Then he stormed out of the room. Fortunately, this decision soon led to something beautiful. Tim made it on time for the dinner date, and it was only after they returned he told his wife he had quit his job. Of course, she gave him her full support. Over the next few weeks, Tim applied for several jobs, and he eventually got one in a mining company. It was here that he met his animal friend, Sadie Kate, a wonderful dog that went to extreme lengths to prove how much she loved her owner. On Tim's first day at work, he had just driven into the parking lot when a dog ran towards him and just began wagging her tail. It was Sadie Kate. She even started pulling Tim's trousers as if she wanted him to play with her. "I just assumed she must be a really friendly dog, and maybe this is how she welcomes strangers," Tim explained. Well, he soon realized how wrong he was. As Tim walked into the office area, Sadie continued following him. "Hey, good girl, you can't go in there. I will see you later, okay?" Tim said lovingly while patting the dog's head. This sweet creature then ran back to her favorite spot in the parking lot. After the close of the day, Tim went to the parking area, but Sadie wasn't there, so he thought her owner had taken her home. Tim was almost out of the gate when Sadie suddenly burst out of an abandoned building and ran after his truck. He then hooted his horn, waved at the dog, and drove off. When this man got home, he told his wife about the friendly dog, and Sara asked Tim to take some pictures of the dog the next day. "Let me see this sweet dog that is driving you so crazy," she teased. When Tim got to work the next day, he didn't find Sadie in the parking lot. So during the work break, he bought some sausages and went to the parking lot, hoping to find his new friend there. Luckily, Sadie was there. Immediately, she spotted Tim. She ran towards him and just started licking his feet. Tim then gave her the sausage and she ate happily. While she was eating, Tim brought out his phone, took some pictures, and forwarded them to his wife. Immediately, Sara saw the dog and she fell in love with her. "Her owner must be so lucky," Sara said, and Tim agreed. Neither of them suspected Sadie was a stray with no family or friends. For the next couple of days, the relationship between Tim and Sadie deepened. During work breaks, they would take walks around the buildings. Sadie soon knew exactly when it was time for break, so she would wait for Tim at a spot very close to his office. It was around this time Tim suspected Sadie was a stray, so he asked around. One colleague then told him Sadie had been around for about 6 months and no one had come looking for her. Tim was so hurt when he heard this, and he couldn't bring himself to leave Sadie behind anymore. That evening, when Tim was leaving, Sadie came out to say bye as usual. "Would you go with me?" Tim said, with tears welling in his eyes. Sadie was such a sweet dog and she didn't deserve to live off the streets. Interestingly, it seemed Sadie had also went with Tim, so when Tim opened the door, she just jumped into the truck. As they drove home, neither of them could contain their excitement. Tim even turned on his music and began dancing while Sadie wagged her tail. It was such a beautiful moment, but nothing compared to what soon happened. When they got home, Sara welcomed Sadie happily and gave him a long and warm bath. The two bonded quickly, but what happened the next day scared Sara out of her mind. About 30 minutes after Tim left for work the next day, Sadie ran out of the house and went to sit in the driveway. Sara was so worried. She thought Sadie didn't like the house and just wanted to leave. She later took the dog in, but he was very restless until Tim returned from work. When she saw her human owner, she became very active and happy. Sara then told Tim everything that had happened during the day. "He probably needs some time. Just make sure you keep him indoors," Tim told his wife. They would soon both be in tears once they discovered the real reason Sadie was doing this. The next day, Sadie ran out of the house and went to sit in the driveway. Once again, Sara brought her in, but she forgot to lock the doors. This mistake, however, led to a beautiful discovery. That evening, immediately, Sadie heard Tim's truck. She stormed out of the house and went to welcome him. That was when Sara suspected Sadie was going out to wait for Tim, and not because she wanted to leave. She needed to confirm her suspicion. So, the next day when Sadie ran to the driveway, Sara didn't bring him in. This dog waited for over 8 hours. Finally, towards evening, Sadie saw Tim's truck approaching and just jumped up in excitement. She went crazy with joy as she ran to welcome her human friend. Now that they knew why Sadie was going to the driveway to wait for Tim, they got so emotional and shed tears. What a beautiful way to show her affection for the one who gave her a roof over her head. Sara eventually captured one of these beautiful moments and shared it on TikTok. The video racked up over 7 million views. To date, Sadie continues to wait for Tim on the driveway until he returns home. When it rains, she retreats to the garage, but keeps her eyes fixated on the road, hoping her beloved friend would appear any moment. What a loyal dog. Thanks for watching.